Thank you. They don't have very high standards for admission, apparently. I have absolutely no business being on this stage. Just ask my internal nun. That's right, I've got an internal nun. She's actually one of two voices in my head. Her name is Sister Eugenia, and the other voice is a Basset Hound. My Basset Hound is the voice of the real me. It's the intuitive, the instinctive, the knowing me. It's my heart, my soul, my center. And when I'm doing the right thing, that Basset Hound wags its little tail. Sure, she slobbers, and she walks on her own ears, but that's who I am. Unfortunately for me, my Basset Hound has no words. My nun, on the other hand, is the voice of what I should be doing. She lets me know what everybody else expects of me, and she lets me know when I come up short, which is often. The nun, she's got plenty of words. She lives in a black and white rational world that includes dictionary.com. If we want to lead, we have to stop letting that inner nun hold us back. We have to be who we are, do the thing that lights our fire, that gives us joy, and makes that little Basset Hound tail wag. When we do that, people will follow. We might not be CEOs or elected officials or even great philanthropists, but we can make a difference every single day in every little thing that we do. That's the kind of leader I want to be. In fact, that's the kind of goofy old Basset Hound I pretty much try to be every single day. I've learned to stop listening to my internal nun, and if I can do it, you guys can too. I started out a happy little Basset Hound just sitting in the grass. I was frolicking, rolling around in the grass on my back. I was happy. And all of a sudden, this voice appeared and it said, "What are you doing? You're frolicking. Stop that frolicking. Get up and make something of yourself. You should be more like the Afghan hound. Clean yourself up, dress for success, and part your hair down the middle." About that time, I was in 7th grade, I decided I needed to be a CPA. So I set out on that course. That guaranteed a big income, huge in fact, and a secure profession. This was before Enron. So I set out along that path, confident that I was going to be the best CPA the world had ever known. Occasionally my Basset Hound would say, "Come play," pat my little head, rub me on the belly, and I would go, don't have time for that. I'm on a mission. I got to keep going. Every time the Basset Hound would try to get me to stray from my course, the nun would find ways to keep me on track. She'd keep that Basset Hound in the doghouse. The first thing she tried on me was the promise of a prize. She told me if I just kept working hard enough, someday I would earn that prize, pay my dues, work harder, do the things I was supposed to do, and the prize would make it all worthwhile. Success would lead me to happiness. It didn't matter if I was happy in what I was doing, or even if I was enjoying what I was doing, or if I was in the right role. It was all about that prize. So I kept going. And every year, that prize would move a little bit further over the next hill, until suddenly 15 years had gone by. I was stuck. I tried everything to be a fabulous tax accountant. I changed jobs, locations, roles, outfits. None of it made a difference. Try as I might and hard as I worked, I was still average as a tax accountant. I really wanted to be good at something. One day I grabbed a hold of that prize and I made partner in a CPA firm in Atlanta. And that's when I figured it out. The prize wasn't enough. It wasn't about the prize. I was doing the wrong thing. And so I decided I needed to find something that I could be great at. Don't wait for the prize. If you're fundamentally unsatisfied or unhappy in your life or in your job or in your relationship, fix that. Don't expect the prize, the house, the car, the baby to make it okay. So I left accounting. I went into technology. My Basset Hound gave me a knowing look. The nun called me a quitter. She said I'd walked away from a successful and promising career, and I was putting my family and myself at risk. How in the world could I do something that stupid? It was the wrong thing to do, and I would live to regret it. But I did it anyway. I left accounting. I started training for technology companies. and I really loved teaching. From there, I found my way into a software company, and that's when I did my first presentation. Sorry. I did my first presentation. When I got on that stage and I connected with the audience, that's when I felt it. I knew I was in the right place. That's where I was meant to be, and I wanted more of that. I thought about speaking as a profession, but my nun had other ideas. She pulled this one out of her ample sleeves. She said, "You're an old dog. You can't learn new tricks. What are you thinking? You got to stick with this. You got to make this one work. You got to work harder, get promoted, get a bigger team, get more budget." And so I kept at it. The Basset Hound just waited for me to come to my senses. And then on January 4th, 2001, my father passed away. He wasn't sick. We had no warning. He was just gone. And I had no way to tell him goodbye. That moment, I realized, how am I going to cope with my grief? What am I going to do? And that's when I had a wacky idea. I could speak at his funeral. I could give his eulogy, and I could make it funny. You can only imagine what the nun thought about that idea. She pulled out a pencil to list all the reasons that was a dumb idea. That is disrespectful. That's a solemn occasion. You'll make your family look bad. They will never go for that. How can you even think of being that disrespectful to your father's memory? He would never approve. She was probably right. Clearly my dad had no sense of humor. My Basset Hound knew different. And so I gave his eulogy. I spoke at his funeral. We laughed, we cried, and we remembered. And an amazing thing happened. People came up to me afterwards and said, the laughter helped them heal. And I thought, I want to do more of that. I want to help people heal with laughter and help people learn through laughter. Old dogs can learn new tricks. Don't buy into that. It is never too late. If you want to do something, do it. Do it today. And so I decided if I was going to make people laugh, I probably should know how to go about that. So I wanted to take some training. So that's when I took stand-up comedy training. Now, unfortunately, I had to take it twice, and I'm still not funny. But I know people who are. That's when the nun got really scared, and she pulled out her third weapon from those ample sleeves. And she said, she used my own stuff against me this time. She said, you got too much stuff. How can you risk everything you have to do something as stupid as comedy? Nobody will take you seriously. You can never be a professional with humor. People will just think you're a dummy. So I went ahead. I thought about it. I tried to do the comedy. You can never combine fun and work if you want to be a serious professional. And so the nun held me back. The Basset Hound knew where this was headed. I went back to my corporate job. I buckled down. I tried to pretend I wasn't who I was, and I fit in. I tried to suppress that humor, but I really wanted to write a book, and I really wanted to speak. I didn't know how I could ever do that. Then on May 4th, 2007, everything changed. I was driving my son across country, and I'd pulled over to rest because I'd been driving all night when my phone rang. It was my daughter's friend. Her name was Melissa. Geni, Mary Beth's been in an accident. The car was going 100 miles an hour. It flipped 4 times, and she was thrown from the car. Melissa, is she alive? And the answer was, I don't know. At that moment, everything went black. My nun prayed a silent prayer, and my Basset Hound howled. And I didn't know how I was going to go on. I had 2 minutes of that, and then my phone rang again. It was a different friend. Jenna, is she alive? And the answer was yes, and I've talked to her. That's when I started a new chapter of my life. My 17-year-old daughter was in intensive care at ICU at Stanford Hospital. She'd broken her neck, she had 80 staples in her scalp, and they had to regrow tissue in her knee. She'd broken just about every bone in her body and was covered in bandages from head to toe, but she was alive. She could breathe. She had suffered no neurological damage, and she was talking. There were 5 girls in the car that day, and they all survived. And Mary Beth had not gotten the worst of it. We were very, very fortunate. And I have to tell you, there was not one moment in any of that where I worried about my stuff. I wasn't worried about the house or the car or my dish rag collection. I was focused on the things that mattered: my family, our health, relationships, and people. The stuff doesn't mean a thing. And by August of 2007, she was in amazing shape. She was incredibly resilient. And I had learned a thing or two about pretty much everything that mattered. Don't worry about the stuff. Don't hold yourself back to protect the things that you have. Don't give up your dream for the corner office or for a bigger house or for whatever it is. That stuff just doesn't matter. The nun had pretty much had it. She flat gave up by that point. And I had learned 3 important things. 1, the prize doesn't make it right. 2, it's never too late. The old dog can always learn new tricks. And number 3, that stuff doesn't mean a darn thing. If you've got a dream, you've got to pay attention to that. My Basset Hound was content, and so was I. I became a different person. I wrote that book, I found my voice, and I told my story. And now when I want to make a point, I use all the humor I can find. And I have lots of wacky ideas. Believe it or not, I've even found my way back to a CPA firm. But this time, I'm in the right role. I'm the Countess of Comunications. From Greenville, South Carolina, found her way to this stage at TEDxNapaValley. What's your dream? Don't let those internal nuns hold you back. And who are you listening to? There's only one way you can make a Basset Hound a pitiful dog, and that is to ignore her. Don't ignore your inner Basset Hound. Lead from within and live your dream. Thank you.